Before we begin, 3 messages. When my company needed to develop a key mobile product, one that I was counting on as a new source of revenue, I knew exactly who to turn to. Macadamian. They delivered on time with incredible attention to detail, and I was able to get product into customers' hands faster than I ever thought possible. I've personally known them for 10 years, and they do make great products even better. Check them out at www.macadamian.com. What mobile platform do companies like eBay, NBC Universal, the Los Angeles Times, Razorfish, and PayPal use to build their cross-platform native applications? Titanium by Appcelerator. They aren't alone. There are now over 25,000 apps deployed by Appcelerator, which has been called the Rosetta Stone of app development. And you can start now for free. Just go to www.appcelerator.com for more information. So, you've taken some of the advice that has come from Untether.tv guests, built an app, and now you're turning your attention to generating some hard-earned revenue. Then you should be looking at Pontiflex app leads. Some of your peers who are using app leads are earning CPMs 100 times the industry average. And if you need any other reasons to start, I'll give you 2 more. You can run sign-up ads from top brands, the ones that you recognize, and it won't take your precious users out of your app. Go to appleads.com, that's appleads.com to sign up. Hello everybody, welcome to Untether.tv. This is of course that place you come to listen to me have casual conversations with mobile rock stars, try to understand what's going on in the mobile industry, do a little bit of a deeper dive, longer form interviews on how companies are embracing mobile, using mobile, succeeding in mobile. And here's another one. We've always bring you these great little companies that are that you may have heard of or may not have heard of, but are making waves in the industry. Today, all the way from Quincy, Massachusetts, is a company called Modiv, and they are a company that actually does a few things. We're going to talk about their Modiv mobile product in a second, and the reason that I'm really interested in this is that they've built themselves as the only company that actually does personal promotions, mobile self-scan, and instant checkout. We're going to find out what that means. And so joining me today is John Karen, who is actually the Senior VP of Marketing for the company, the 10-year-old company. John, thanks for coming on, sharing this story. Really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
So first off, let's just talk about Modiv. You guys are a 10-year-old company, and you've got some great case studies under your belt. You're working with some great companies that are in the mobile space, in the mobile checkout and m-commerce space. But why don't you give an overview of what Modiv is?
Certainly, happy to. I think the fact that we're a 10-year-old company in the mobile space, especially mobile commerce, sets us apart, right? Most companies are a few months old, less than a year old, maybe 2 years old, and the really old guys in the space are 3 or 4 years old, right? We've been around for 10 years, and what we've been doing is we've been building in-store marketing solutions since we launched the company 10 years ago. And those solutions have evolved with time. As the technology has advanced, we've kept an eye on it, and we went from these what were essentially tablets attached to a shopping cart, evolving to a proprietary handheld gun that delivered media and self-scanning that we did with Motorola. And a few years ago, we re-architected our solution with the idea that at some point the smartphones were going to catch up, and the technology was going to catch up to the point actually deliver the same experience on a smartphone. And we're there today.
I mean, do you think that we're there? I mean, it's interesting. I'm sure we could do an entire episode on just the fact, do we think that we're there today? But you guys are definitely there. Do you think that the consumer is there today, that we're ready for this? Or is it just at that kind of that apex, the beginning of this?
I think we're at the beginning. I mean, there's a lot of excitement. I think what's happening is this reminds me of the e-commerce days with a company called ATG, and we were one of the big e-commerce providers. And where retailers were just starting to get the sense that, hey, we need to look at this, and this is something that is legitimate, and it is going to have a profound impact on our business. I feel like we're there. And a lot of retailers are dipping their toes in the water. The danger with dipping your toe in the water with mobile commerce is that if you deliver kind of half of a solution and half of the experience, users might not come back. chances with mobile users.
And is that different than it was in the e-commerce days? I mean, there was a different kind of concern back then around credit card safety and fraud and transferring your credit card across the wire. But do you think that they were more forgiving? Do you think that right now it's that if somebody has a bad experience with a mobile commerce or a mobile checkout or anything that you guys are doing, do you think that will really they will stay away forever, or do you think that it'll stunt the growth of this industry?
I think it's a little bit different. I think that it comes down to setting proper expectations with your shoppers and customers, right? If you set the expectation that you're going to be delivering this Uber app that will do everything, including making their meal for them, and you fail to deliver, that's where you're gonna fall down. So I think you have to make sure that you're mapping the expectations with what the actual app can do, and not to fake a mobile app as really just a mobile website, right? I mean, mobile commerce, and you run into this all the time, I'm sure, is that mobile commerce is kind of poorly defined in many ways, right? Is it paying via NFC? Is it a mobile wallet? Is it an actual in-store mobile transaction? Is it using mobile commerce as the way to pay? Any one of these could be defined as mobile commerce, and users, shoppers, are much more savvy than I think a lot of people give them credit for. We can figure out the difference between a real mobile app and something that's just a faked app going to a mobile commerce site.
Yeah, and I think that's what people are getting, are finding right now, is that there was a rush to mobilize everything, and in that rush to mobilize everything, ultimately you've put a catalog, or you've just replaced your website with a mobile version of that website. It's not the same as mobile commerce. It's not that immersive experience, is it?
No, it really isn't. It's kind of, you're going back to the e-commerce days, right? Remember when people created brochureware sites, right? And those died off pretty quickly because just taking a traditional or an analog asset and putting it on the web didn't create a good experience. It didn't really leverage the capabilities of the internet. Same thing's happening with mobile. Just because you put your brochure or your circular or a coupon onto an app, if I can't do anything with that, if I can't actually engage, if it doesn't drive commerce and a good experience while I'm in the store, you're going to lose me.
Absolutely, so, absolutely. With Modiv, you guys are involved in some pretty amazing, cool projects, and as I said at the very beginning, it's about you encapsulate the personal promotion, mobile self-scan, and instant checkout into your product. What problems do you think you guys are addressing with this that the consumer's having right now, or that the consumer doesn't know that they're going to have, but they will at some point?
Yeah. Well, I'd say it actually might be a little bit different. It's more of the challenge the retailer hasn't identified yet, which is the fact that consumers want to use their smartphones, right? We're using them more and more. They're with us all the time. We've all read the studies that we're more likely to go home for our smartphone than we are for our wallet. So we know it's there.
I've done it.
Yeah, absolutely, right? I mean, and if you're running to Starbucks, if you have your mobile phone, that's all you need. I don't actually need my wallet to go pay for things. So I think that digital wallet idea is fantastic, and can't wait for it to come to fruition. But we're a long ways away between there and today. And so what most retailers have to do is have a very clear mobile strategy on how are they going to engage shoppers in a way that they want to be engaged, right? So you have a couple choices, right? For a retailer, you can piggyback on what the brands are doing, let the brands do it. You can let other companies come in and try to own check-in or couponing or checkout or payment or whatever. But the problem with all of that is that the retailers are now getting disintermediated, right? They're allowing these other apps and brands to own the relationship with the customer. And so really what mobile comes down to is who owns the customer, who wants to own the customer, who wants to own that customer relationship. And if a retailer wants to own it, which we know they all do, right? If they want to own that relationship, they need to deliver an app that meets and exceeds the expectations of their customers.
It's funny because you brought something up there that, obviously the last year or so has been the year of the check-in.
Yep.
It's kind of emerged as an industry, reached an annoyance level, and then kind of diminished in value, shall we say, because you see all these guys now turning into discovery engines as opposed to check-in engines.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that should retail locations rely on those guys to drive traffic, or should they do what they've always done, which is they may have played with the check-in software, like the Foursquare. They may have played with Groupon, for example, as a couponing, as a group couponing play, but they should ultimately own that themselves and be in control of that. That's what you mean by this?
Well, I'd say both, actually. And I don't think it's quite so binary, right? I think they can leverage things like, even like a Shopkick or Foursquare or Facebook Places, right, to drive traffic, right? I think there are lots of ways to drive people in the store. The fundamental is the fact that all of these technologies work until you walk in the door, and as soon as you walk in the door, they've lost you, right? Our solution provides retailers the ability to, once you walk in the door, to drive a directly personal experience, right? Because I know who you are, I know what you bought, I know where you are physically in the store, I know what's in your cart, so it changes the experience. I think that goes back to the idea of having a mobile strategy and really thinking carefully about dipping your toe in the water. Right, so that's a good idea for some, but you have to be very, very careful because if you get a mass of your shoppers who are used to checking in a certain way because you taught them to do that with somebody else's app, if you then add that to your own app, good luck retraining those people. It's going to be very, very difficult to do. So I don't think it's one or the other. I think that it's both. But when it comes to owning, they have to do it. They have to deliver an app that actually provides real value beyond things like finding a store or looking at a circular or things that I could do online. Again, taking an analog process and sticking it on a mobile phone doesn't cut it.
No, and a lot of I would say that most of the retailers are moving in that direction, right? Which is taking exactly what is analog, as you said, which is available on the website, and throwing it up into a mobile application. I see this so many times. Up here in Canada, got this massive coffee chain called Tim Hortons.
Oh yeah.
And they're actually moving into the States as well. But it's a massive chain. It's as Canadian can be. It's named after a Canadian hockey player named Tim Horton, and it has this application which is exactly that. It is a hey, where's the nearest Tim Hortons? Yeah. Or it affixed a notepad which said, now you can write down what all your friends want when you do the Timmy's run, which is what they call it. So that's a perfect example of an analog experience just being brought into a mobile application. What do you think that these guys should do, as a coffee chain that could augment that, for example?
Yeah, great question. I think that the store locator actually does have its place, right? So I'm a big fan of Starbucks, so I actually like the store locator when I'm somewhere where I don't know where I could find a Starbucks. I put it in, that's cool, but I don't use it very often. I think that if you look at that list of okay, here's what everybody wants, right? It's a neat idea. It's actually akin to a shopping list, right? Yep. In grocery, right, which is where we're predominantly. So if you look at creating lists are a great example. How do you go through and check it off? Are you just touching it? I got Bob's, I got Steve's, I got Larry's coffee. Okay, great, I'm done. Are you walking through the grocery store and you scan the milk and then you've got to check off that you bought the milk? That's not intuitive. I think that what retailers are doing, what Tim Horton I think is doing intelligently, right, is they are dipping their toe in the water, but now there's an opportunity for them to take it to the next level. If I'm building a list, right, so there's an opportunity for them to upsell. Right, so introduce new products, leverage loyalty. Mobile is a great way to create and engage people from a loyalty program perspective. So, the ideal, right, would be where you put your list together, and it's not a list; it's actually an order form. You hit submit, you select your local Tim Hortons, and when you arrive, you check in, they start making all your coffees. You're done. That would be really, really cool.
That would be very cool, yeah.
It would be, right? So, and it's all possible. It's just a matter of retailers getting comfortable, with the concept. But ultimately, I think that's where this is all going, right? Which is that the retailer could ping me when I haven't been in the store for a while,
yep.
right? It can say, hey, we haven't seen you. You haven't bought a coffee in 3 weeks. Come on back. Here's 50 cents off, or get a free donut, right? With your coffee purchase. So the way in which the retailer can now engage the customer, and we're walking around, right, with these phones. I mean, the first thing most people do in the morning who have a smartphone is they turn it on and look at it.
Yep.
Right now, they may be looking at email, they might look at the weather, but it's an opportunity for the retailer to engage the store.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great example. I think the difference here, what we're talking about, is that the companies that have gotten engaged with mobile, the retailers that have gotten engaged with mobile over the last year or so, have really thought about mobile in the context of their existing business. So the first thing is, how do they find us, right?
Right.
Second thing is, okay, so how do we complement what they would typically do when they walk in the store? But it's so separate, right? So right. In Tim Hortons' instance, it's creating a list of of the coffees you have to pick up for your pals.
Right.
In a retail establishment like the Gap or anything like that, it could be just about a catalog, right? Or a hardware store. It could be their coupons or something like that. Right. But it seems that it's very separate. Are we witnessing now with you guys with Modiv? Are you seeing more of a mobile first mentality? So here's our brick and mortar, here's our brick and click companies, mm-hmm. and then we're going to forget how we kind of do business here, and we're going to just look at mobile as a completely new way of doing things, and we're going to think about it without context to what we're already doing. Are you starting to see that transition?
No, actually, I'm not sure I want to see that transition, and here's why. There's someone came up with the term bricks and mobile. I love that.
Bricks and mobile?
Yeah, it's a great term, right? Because it really defines. Mobile doesn't have to replace the brick and mortar store. It should enhance the in-store experience.
Right.
The analogy I like to make is, think about when you go to visit an e-commerce site, right? It looks at click streams, it looks at cookies, it looks at your personal information, implicit and explicit personalization, right? So it takes all of this information and delivers, right, targeted, experience, right, in terms of, what have you looked at? Here's some recommendations, right, using collaborative filtering. So there's all these neat technologies, and it knows you as an individual when you're, on that website. Well, mobile allows you to do the exact same thing, but in store. So I can know where you are, who you are, what you buy, what brands you like, how frequently you buy, what quantity of things you buy. Now I can target my communications with you while you're in the store. And the reason you're going to be receptive to that is because the application is open, because I'm using it to scan all the items that I'm going to purchase. And then ultimately, we'd love to see you pay via the mobile phone. We think going to a checkout is not necessary. Loss prevention guys may argue otherwise, but we think that that's ultimately the experience you can have. So it's not a matter as a separate channel strategy from your bricks and mortar experience, or even from your online experience, right? That the three of them have to work in concert. You should be able to be on a website and load a coupon to your loyalty card, so you don't have to print it, you don't have to email it,
right.
It's just there. And then when you get into the store, it reminds you that you have that coupon, so it drives that kind of purchase. I think that's personally where it's going to go.
Well, and I think that what about stores that want to? I think that when you get in store, that's one instance. What about driving traffic to that store? How does mobile play in generating, moving me from my couch to that store? to that retail establishment. I mean, can it play in that? And is that just what we're talking about? Is that like the communication side where, listen, you haven't been in the restaurant for a while, you haven't been in the shop for a while, come and see this. We know your purchase history is this, and it's on sale. You might like that. Is that what we're doing, what we're seeing, and where it's going to go?
I think it will. I mean, with push notifications, text messaging, right? I mean, you have the ability to, through the retailer app or through SMS or email, being able to engage that, that customer. The key is going to be coordinating those efforts.
Right.
That's one of the things that we do. We provide our customers with the ability to integrate and align all their digital assets so that the message that's going out to each individual customer is the same across all channels. So I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, mobile gives you the ability. I mean, you can use proximity. You can, use when you're outside of the store, right? You can use GPS to know where you are, hit you with a notification when you're within a half mile of a store. That we can do, but there's a balance that needs to be created there, right? Think about the daily deal sites, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I've unsubscribed from most of them.
Every single one.
The reason is there's no personalization to it, right? I live north of Boston. Granted, I work south of Boston. So yes, my commute is horrific, but I'm not going to drive to I'm not going to drive to the South Shore to save $50 on a massage. Never happened, right? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but John, I think that you would do that for a pedicure, wouldn't you?
Oh, that.
Come on.
I'd go up to Ottawa for that.
That's right.
But that's the whole point, right? Which is is the filtering done by the application or is it done by the shopper? And if the filtering is done by the application, now you're going to engage the shopper in a way that they've never realized before, because every offer that's being put forth, and I think that's really what it's going to come down to with mobile. Retailers are going to have to be very, very careful, or the next set of spam will be push notifications and SMS alerts, and people will just shut that off. So you have to be very careful with it.
That's one of the great concerns, I think, in mobile is that companies like Boxcar on the iPhone, on iOS, are handling this, which is that the influx of notifications and push messaging that happens from all your applications, whether it's your social applications or your retail applications, that can become a very overwhelming experience for a lot of users. And once you add that retail play into it, like I got a loyalty card for Starbucks, I got a loyalty card for a retail establishment, I got a loyalty card for my hardware store, I got a loyalty, and all of a sudden it is an overflow of direct messaging that happens on the application or on the smartphone, and then what? Right.
Well, I think you hear Google talk about this zero moment of truth, right? And they'd argue that 60 or 70% of research is done before you go into the store.
Yep.
Then you talk to most CPGs and retailers, and they say no, roughly 70% of all purchase decisions are made in store. So somewhere between there lies probably the truth, right? and an accurate experience. Or more accurately, sometimes I decide before, right? If I'm buying a 60-inch plasma, probably going to do a lot of my deciding beforehand, right? When I'm walking through the grocery store, if I want Oreos, that's probably going to be an impulse decision,
right,
usually driven by my children, right?
Yep.
So how do you influence people along that path to purchase? And I think that's one of the things that mobile is completely disrupting the path to purchase, right? 30 years ago, it was very linear, right? I saw an ad, or I'd say maybe 40 years ago, right? I saw an ad that was created by some advertising person. They influenced my decision. I went to the store and I fulfilled that need, right? Now, I could be walking down the street and say, oh yeah, I need a lawnmower, right? And pull up the Sears mobile app and buy it and then go pick it up, right? It's that, it's that simple. So retailers have to be ready to engage the customer when the customer is ready to buy. Then you also have to understand when's the best point to influence someone, right? So while I'm sitting in my office during the day, right, hitting me with a coupon to save 50 cents on bananas, probably not an effective way to reach me. as I walk into Stop and Shop, right, and open up their mobile app, and it hits me with an offer to say, John, you buy bananas all the time. Here's 50 cents off buying this certain amount of bananas. That's a great opportunity to target me because I'm in the store, my wallet's open, I'm in buying mode, and it's where you can really influence purchase decisions.
Yeah, you know, I'm got a few things on that. Is that certainly mobile is very disruptive when it comes to the retail experience, right? You know, a perfect example, we hear this all the time around you doing your research in store, for example. You go into Best Buy, you've done your research about the TV that you want to buy, and then you go in there to touch it, feel it, you know, play with it, make sure that it's, you know, it's real. You use something like Shop Savvy, barcode scan, find the best price you can and walk out the store. And thank you very much, Best Buy, for allowing me to be, you know, your very expensive or a cheap way to display the product. Yeah. And then I go and buy it online or around the corner. And I've had that experience. I just bought new tires for my car, which is, you know, it's a perfect example why you don't buy a car that requires 20-inch tires. Don't ever do that because they're expensive tires, right? Yeah. But here's a perfect example of me walking into the dealership, they identifying that I need new tires, and typically what they would do is they would say, okay, here are your 3 options. Which one would you like? And I said, okay, well, give me those 3 options. I'll be right back. Pull out the mobile device, go, you know, look at Costco, look at Price Club, look at all these different locations, look at the U.S., down in Ogden's. I mean, and then I can come back and I'm better educated and say, well, you know what, look, really I found these exact same tires around the corner that I'm going to go and buy, and, you know, they're $40 cheaper per tire. And they'll match the price. It really does put the power right into my hands. From, you know, it takes it away from the retailer a little bit. So those are perfect examples of the power of mobile and how it can impact on a retail establishment. Now, my view when it comes to walking into a store, you know, should it be that I get, you know, it looks at my history and says, you know, you do like bananas, Rob, which I do. And here's a discount on the bananas, or should it be, you know, here you like bananas, Rob, but did you know they go really well with strawberries? Here's a discount on the strawberries to entice me to buy something that I typically wouldn't buy. I mean, is that the better way to do these things? Is that the way you see things happening? Which is, don't discount things don't give me a discount because I've walked in the store, but try to entice me to buy something that I've never bought before, and or a volume. Exactly. Much greater, and then give me a discount at a certain threshold. Is that the way that we should be doing these things?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's intelligent targeting, right? I mean, think about a coupon in the Sunday paper, right? So that's treating everyone the same. Everybody gets $1 off, right? So if I'm buying my Frosted Flakes, every single week I buy a box of Frosted Flakes. All you did was lose $1.
Right.
Right now, the retailer may not care because the brand is underwriting the costs of that, you know, the redemption costs of that. But the brands certainly care, right? The retailers also are looking at, how do I sell my own brands? How do I sell more? How do I get you to buy more? And one of the things that's been a core to what we've created, which is a targeting engine that allows you to do exactly that. We can say, all right, on Friday mornings between 10 and noon, people who have bought these 3 things, who haven't bought this, this, and this in the last X amount of time, should get this offer for this product. You can target as narrow as you want. So I think one of the things that will happen is retailers will start to learn that they have an incredibly powerful tool. It's as if you've got a virtual coupon machine walking with the customer as they're going through the store, looking at everything they've bought, and saying, hey, Rob, you know what? If you buy, you know, hamburgers, hot dogs, you know, and you're probably having a cookout, so let me, you know, buy corn, buy ketchup, buy, you know, buy lawn chairs, right? Buy, you know, lighter fluid, whatever it is, right? So you have the ability to really engage and influence that decision. And given the, you know, the percentage of purchase decisions, impulse decisions, right? It's roughly 2/3 of decisions are impulse decisions in stores. So, you know, given that ability to influence people while they're looking to buy is massively powerful.
So how do you without overwhelming the consumer with applications, right? So mobile apps, you know, I think there's 2 sides to this. Is that I'll download the brands that I love. So I shop at a local grocery store, and that's my grocery store. There's a good likelihood that I'll download the application because they're pushing me some value.
Right.
But as you said, if I'm looking for a lawnmower, I might not shop at Sears every day or very often at all. But if I'm looking for a lawnmower, I might download their catalog and see what they've got, or find an application that has that. And then I go to Starbucks, and then I go to this store, and then I have lunch over here quite often. How do you encapsulate all of that? Because I certainly don't think that I want 30 apps for the brands that I want to get a discount from. So how does this get into the consumer's hands to offer value?
Right. So a couple things. One is, I don't know about you, but I'm pushing 200 apps on my phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to search now to find the apps that I want to get to, right? And I don't. That's a bad situation, I think.
It is. But I think it really comes down to value, right? So what value am I getting out of the apps that you use most often? I love my Citibank app. It's great. I use it. I open it up. I can move money. I can pay bills right from my phone if I think about it. It's fantastic, right? I like that app. I like paying with Starbucks. Actually, the Starbucks mobile app, payment app. Yeah. I tried it just to see what it's like. I had never been in their loyalty program. Well, now I'm in their loyalty program, and I just got a $5 coffee for free. That was fantastic, right? So I think what it comes down to is you nailed it, right? I'm not going to walk into my local grocery store and open an app from Coke to save money from Coke, and one from P&G to save money from them, and one from Unilever, and one from Kraft, and blah blah blah. Right? You're not going to do that. Just like I'm not going to do one to check in, one to check out, one to pay, one to get coupons, one to whatever. Right? So another one for my shopping list, another one to find where everything is in the store. It's ridiculous. So all of those are going to need to app. And I think that the apps that we will be willing to use are based on who owns the customer. So in a grocery store, the grocer owns you as the customer. So what your expectation will deliver me an experience, right, that takes all of these apps that are out there and all the things I could be doing, pull them into a single experience. So I walk in the store, I scan my items, I get the offers that I want. I can share these offers socially with other people if I want to do that. When I'm done, I can simply hit pay and walk out the door. When I'm at home, I finish using the milk. I scan it. It gets added to a shopping list. I'm on Kraft iFood. I like a recipe. I hit add that to my shopping list, but it goes to my store shopping list, not to another shopping list. That's ultimately where I think people's expectation will be, that I want to, and it can be fed by lots of different sources, but ultimately when I walk in the store, I'm going to open just one app. And you've got to have a profound reason to open that app. And in our opinion, saving time is great, but not enough. Saving money is great, but not enough. Quick payment and skipping the line is great, but not enough. You combine all of those, and you've got a killer app.
And it is. I want to talk to you about what you guys are doing in that space, because you've got some tangible examples. You're working with companies that are doing this, and it's having a material impact on their bottom line. Like, this is generating revenue, loyalty as well. I just want to finish off this thought around this whole concept here, because that situation that you just described, which is recipes added to an application or a shopping list. And the same thing when I run out of food in my house. I use a simple app. It's a shopping list application, and they throw coupons my way, right? It's not branded to the grocer that I use or the retailer that I frequent. I guess the question is, how does a retailer start to embrace this stuff? What's that first step, or the second step, and the third step that they need to be able to do to kind of get to that point where they're not just giving away money like they are with a couponing service like a check-in software, which I think is ludicrous, right? I'm already here. Don't give me 30% off on my purchases. That's giving away money. Yeah. It's about the way that you described it with you're now in the Starbucks loyalty program. and it's about engaging deeper with customers and understanding what they want. How do they start? Because that's an overwhelming thing, I think, today for most retailers to start thinking about.
Well, I think you have to start with the basics. That's what we've done, right? I can start our scan my groceries, put them in my bag, get targeted offers, and then a quick checkout, right?
Yeah.
The quick checkout right now is still through the same the self checkout lanes. You can't pay right now on the phone. We plan to be there by the end of the year with our technology. Whether the retailers embrace it that quickly or not is still to be seen. But I think you have to start with what are the core, what are the people looking to do when you're and I think you need to look at that by channel, right? So we're primarily focused on groceries. So there are very few people who enjoy grocery shopping, right? So I want to get in, I want to get out, and if I can save some money while I'm in there, even better. So if you take that objective from the shopper and build an app around that, you've delivered the first thing. Then they start to say things like, wouldn't it be cool if I had a shopping list that would automatically, check off as I'm scanning my items? Absolutely. So it's an evolutionary process. I think if anybody tries to build that kind of, Uber experience now, they'll probably fail. Most of the shopping list applications are great, but again, most of them are analog to digital or analog to mobile, right? If you build a list that says milk, eggs, butter, bread, right, and go through and scan milk, eggs, butter, bread, it doesn't do it. It doesn't change anything, right? How does it know? How does it know that the milk you scanned actually correlates to the word milk on your shopping list? Because when people build a shopping list, they don't write Stop and Shop 2%, blah blah blah, right? Only if it's on sale. Otherwise, buy this one, and they don't. They just write milk.
Yep.
So how do you take that experience and turn it into an app? So I think that the key really comes down to build a core based on what they're looking to do that provides real customer, not real value and kind of there's the CEO checkbox app, right? So the CEO has said we need a mobile app, and everybody goes, okay, we'll create a mobile app, right? And that's where you get the basic stuff, right? I can find a store, I can see the circular, I can look at coupons. I can't do anything with them, but I can look at them. I can get to the mobile website and do whatever the mobile website has, but that's the extent of it. And they find that customer adoption is low. If you make a great, compelling experience, the customer adoption will follow.
So right on there. I mean, it's a great distinction here, because a lot of apps are throwaway apps, and you don't want to do that. You want to create that brand loyalty, and I think that this is one of the biggest things. And let me ask you this question: is it? You obviously have to have a mobile strategy going into this. There's a reason why you're doing this. It's not just to give away coupons. It's to drive loyalty for your customer base. But I mean, what are some of the strategic imperatives that you should be looking at? So when I download an application and I sign up for something, that's somebody else's strategy that has said, listen, the most important thing for us is your personal information or your email address, so that we can actually communicate with you or send push messaging to you. That's the crux of our strategy. So we're gonna find a way to bring you into the family, so to speak, so that we can engage with you on a regular basis. Some other strategies are, we want to upsell you. So we don't care about who you are. What we want to do is that when you hit this button and you choose that product, we want to say, oh yeah, but hey, have you looked at this blue line over here that complements that, right? I mean, how important is that to get that up front?
And I think, the strategy, really comes down to who wants to own the customer, right? So it's as simple as that. And as a retailer, right, mobile is quickly getting to the point where if you don't have a good mobile strategy and have plans to be rolling out mobile apps that execute against that mobile strategy, which, by the way, shouldn't be too far from your overall corporate strategy, right? Because mobile is just a channel, right? And I think that's where people get a little crazy about it. If they don't do that, right, then someone else will. And someone else will come in and they will take your customer over, and it'll be 3 guys and a dog from Boston or San Francisco or wherever who create the next cool Uber app, and suddenly in a year and a half, 2 years, as a retailer, you're scratching your head saying,
what happened?
What the heck just happened, right? Because Amazon did it not once but twice with books, right? iTunes did it with music. Mobile is going retail. The question is, how is it going to change that experience? And the upside is smart retailers can get ahead of the curve instead of getting run over by it.
You said own the customer, and this is an interesting thing because I mean that can be in so many different ways that you can actually create that deeper relationship with the customer base, and you don't want things to get out of hand, like Amazon did with the books, but there's got to be a thought that goes into the value. You've got to. I guess the moral here is that you've got to cross that value for the consumer, whole, because in order for me to give up personal information, there has to be some great value, but you can't sacrifice anything from the store. You cannot give away dollars or discounts just because. So when you talk about owning the customer, this really is about loyalty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, think about it. People talk about, personal identifiable information in mobile apps. So one thing is, we recognize that early on. So there's no PII. We don't know who you are. We don't capture your credit card and all that information, right? We don't in the app. So when the retailer is engaging you, it's engaging you based on your loyalty card and mapping, your preferences. If you think that your local grocer, doesn't already know everything you buy, they do. That's why they have a loyalty program. So any store that has a loyalty program, right, has the ability to target offers to you. But look at how most loyalty program couponing works. It's dollars off of a purchase, right? So, and it's off of generic products, right? So I'll get the flyer in the mail and there'll be 10 offers, right? These offers aren't necessarily customized to me, right? They're based on what reason to underwrite the cost of that direct mail piece, and the direct mail piece is supposed to get me to walk into the store. It might have some context and some relevance, but it's not the exact same what people can provide. So I think you're absolutely spot on in terms of, if I'm going to give, I better get. And that's, I think, the real expectation, right? Which is, I'll download your app, right? And if you talk to me intelligently and make this worth my while, then I'll keep using it. But otherwise, you're going to fall into that, 74% of apps get used less than 10 times or something like that, right? Exactly. So you'll be in that category. And retailers have to be very, very careful, because you don't want to alienate or piss off your customer base because you delivered a lame app, because they'll go find a better one, because there are 500,000 and growing out there, and one of them is going to meet my needs.
That's a great point, and I think that it requires reinforcement. Is that for example, the Tim Hortons app we talked about earlier on in this conversation was launched about 9 months ago, has not been updated, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of people about this, and they're surprised by my statement when I say, mobile can extend your brand. It can allow you to your customers to embrace you a little bit deeper. It creates a loyalty that is unwavering. But if you ignore it once you've released it, it can have a damaging effect on your brand if it's done improperly. And that's what you're saying here, is that ultimately, if you're not taking this seriously, don't do it, because it can hurt you in the long run if it's done improperly, right?
It's like social media, right? Yeah. Just because you have a fan page doesn't mean that you're social, right? It means you got a fan page.
Exactly.
And you can have a Twitter account with 1 follower and you can tweet all you want, but it doesn't matter. They get thousands of followers and don't tweet anything, right? So I think mobile, absolutely. You have to be smart about it, but you have to be leading it. I mean, you've got to drive this, right? This doesn't just happen, right? You have to think about, what is our strategy? What do we want to do with our customers? And if you have a roadmap, if you have an actual strategy, and instead of saying, okay, well, we'll do 1, 2, and 3, and then in a year we'll revisit it and then maybe add 4, 5, and 6. No, that's not the expectation from the mobile audience. So yeah, I think you're right on, which is the fact that mobile could be a double-edged sword if you're not careful.
It can, and as it grows in importance, so must it grow in importance inside of your organization.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's got to support your it shouldn't be a departure from your business goals and your business strategy. It has to complement that, but in a way that is so unique to mobile that people can embrace and start using it.
Yeah, well, and mobile opens up the ability to engage the customer in a way they've never been able to do
Right.
before. I mean, you have in the palm of their hand, right, your brand.
Right.
So what are you doing with it? How are you leveraging that? And I think that they too often forget that. They think, okay, here are all the assets and programs and things that we've got. What can we push to mobile?
Yeah.
Wrong perspective. Start with your customer or your shopper, and then work backward. And if you do that, then you'll hit your goal.
So you've had you're working with Stop and Shop in Massachusetts, and I mean, this is all based. This whole conversation is based on the experiences that you guys have been having by deploying this. So let's quickly talk about Stop and Shop, and then I'd like to finish off with kind of maybe a forward-thinking statement from you. You know, where you think the industry might be going with this, and how retailers can start to embrace these things. Like a few last tips. But Stop and Shop, because you've had some great impact on their bottom line as a result of doing what you guys do at Modiv.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where being a 10-year-old company comes into play, right? We re-architected our solution about 4 years ago with the idea that smartphones, that at some point we'd be able to use the phone as a delivery mechanism.
Right.
And the technology has evolved very, very quickly. It really just came down to the cameras and the display, right? So in terms of the impact that mobile can have, we look backward at what the handheld device has done for Stop and Shop and Ahold, Stop and Shop's parent company, because we're in both Stop and Shop and the giant Landover stores, with about 350 stores, you're driving about $1 billion a year of retail revenue through that, right? And it's driving lift. It's reducing some of their costs. It has a profound impact. Now what we're doing is we're pushing that out to a broader audience via mobile. And what we're seeing with the initial tests is people love it. They're very comfortable with it. How your smartphone works, right? When you see this Motorola device sitting in a rack, right, you're like, I don't know what that is. I'm a little nervous. What if I drop it, right? How much does that cost? But my own smartphone, I know how it works. It's very intuitive. It's easy for me to utilize. So, Stop and Shop's doing a 3-store pilot right now. They're going to be evaluating it over the course of the year, and then looking at how they want to roll it out. We've signed up a second retailer as well, who will hopefully be in pilot. We've got a third retailer right behind that. So what mobile is saying to us as a company is that retailers are very interested in mobile, and one of the strengths we bring to the table is the fact that integrating into a high volume, complex point of sale system, in a high revenue retailer is not easy, right? And, you don't want to be the first one, right?
No.
We've already got our first one. We've actually got our first two, and so I think that it'll be very interesting to see what the adoption numbers are. Are the adoption numbers higher with the smartphone than with the handheld device? Do customers have a tendency to spend more than they would with the handheld device? Loyalty is a big piece of this, right? What gets a customer to spend more, what drives the lift is not that they're spending more in their overall grocery budget, but that they're consolidating their spending with you. So
Right.
if you look at your share of the grocery budget or your share of wallet, it increases because you're delivering an experience that is really unique. And that's really the ultimate measurement for retailers.
I think it's a very succinct way to describe that. You don't want to. The goal isn't to extract more. The goal is to just create a loyal customer that's going to buy more from you. right?
Right.
And I think
exactly.
That's such a it's a profound statement. I mean, you've seen some early results from this. What's been the impact for these guys at Shop and Save?
So Stop and Shop.
Oh yeah, sorry, my apologies. Stop and Shop.
That's fair. No, that's okay. The initial numbers have been very strong. We've got 4 years of data from the handheld device. That's how we know that we're doing about 1 million trips per month. They do 1 million product scans per day, and about $1 billion of revenue per year. So the impact is absolutely profound. We've not yet, I think, have enough data to be able to look at mobile and say, okay, here's how mobile is looking in comparison to it. And that's why we're going to be looking at it over the next few months. And we're also curious to see now with the second retailer and hopefully a third one, shortly thereafter. The next 12 months, 6 to 12 months for us are going to be really, really intriguing. To see how as we're not only looking at different retailers and how they deploy it, but they're in different geographical areas, and so there's a lot of great data that we're going to be able to see over the next. One thing that is very clear is that the smart, savvy retailers are looking at mobile seriously, and want to do they want to do something quickly, but they want to be smart about it.
Yeah. So if you're a retailer, let's end with this. Like if you're a retailer and you're looking at mobile, what are the? I mean, give some advice about what they should be looking at, what they should be embracing, how they should be getting into the space. Maybe 3 things that they should be doing right now.
Sure. So let's see. Call Modiv.
Exactly. I was going to say like call Modiv, email Modiv, direct message Modiv, right? Those are the 3 things. So how about 6 things then? Those first 3, and then the next. Something tangible that the folks who are listening or watching this can actually walk away and say, "Listen, you're right. I got to start here."
Yeah. Well, so I think first and foremost, don't start with the CEO checkbox app, right? Don't take your analog process because that's not going to be enough.
Right.
Secondly, start with what are your corporate goals, right? And what are you trying to accomplish as a company? Are you trying to boost revenue? Are you trying to increase loyalty? Are you trying? Would you like to leverage mobile as another revenue stream or profit center? Because for retailers, right? They can monetize the ads that are being pushed through the system and create a revenue stream, a profit center for them. So there's really some creative things that they can do. But I think it starts with what are you looking to do? How do you want to engage your customers? And then set realistic goals, right? This mobile is not just because you have a mobile app doesn't mean it's going to go viral and 10 million people are going to download it, and you're going to steal all this business away from your competitor.
Well, should they be focusing on existing customers, like just deepening that relationship?
I think so, because if you start with your customers, more customers will follow behind that, right? Think about Easy Pass or Fast Lane at the on the highway, right? If you weren't one of the first people to have one of those, and you saw these people just zipping through the toll booth, when you went to pay, you said, "What is that? And how can I get I get one of them?" Right?
Yep.
I think the same thing's going to happen with mobile as you start seeing people shop in the stores, as you see them skip the lines at checkout, as you hear about them saving more money than you are because they're getting offers that you don't get because you don't use mobile. So I think that for the retailer, they need to start with how is this good for our customers? How does it boost our loyalty? How does it help us increase our share of their expenditures on our category, and what is the shopper's expectation with regard to that app? And let's make sure we're meeting that, because if you're not, they'll download it, use it a couple times, and then they're done.
And then and that's as what we were talking about, the throwaway app, and that's not what you want.
Yeah, no, that's that throwaway app. In some ways, I think you had said this right, might be worse than no app at all.
Yeah, exactly. 100% agree. So, I mean, there's so much more we can talk about. And, you know, John, I think that I'd love to have you on for another episode of this where we dive down into some of the principles that we've just kind of opened up here. Because, you know, limited amount of time. So I'd love to have you back on. Let's see if we can schedule that again. And where can people find information about what you guys are doing, what Modiv is up to, where you guys are playing, and some examples of some of the I mean, certainly the news about Stop and Shop and a few of the other things. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you know, on the web, Twitter, we're at Modiv, and that's MODIV.
Yeah.
You know, one of the challenges we have though is that we're a strategic initiative for our retailers, so they won't talk about it until they've done it.
Right.
So I'd say look at that. But you know, as a company, you know, we're trying to get out there and kind of spread the good word of you know why you can do mobile commerce now, and you don't have to wait. Right? You can actually get going on it now and not wait to see what others are doing.
Well, I love it. I love it. Well, John, listen, I really appreciate the insight. You've been very candid. You've been very open about what's going on inside of Modiv, and also your thoughts on the industry in general. They're valuable thoughts, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing these stories with us and enduring through the technical issues we were having at the very beginning, which there always are. Damn you, Skype, right? So thank you, John. I appreciate your patience and your insight. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And for those of you who are still watching, listening, wherever you may be, you're cycling, you're driving in your car, you're at the gym, wherever it is, I really appreciate the fact that you do this day in and day out. I know that you found value here. If you have any questions for John, if you want a little bit more information, you should go to Modiv Media, MODIV media.com, and check them out. And there's lots that you can learn from this episode. We'll get John back on to go a little bit deeper into some of the concepts we've introduced here, but just go and take a look at Modiv Media and some of the things that they're doing. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, reach out, untether@gmail.com. I love hearing from you. I'll respond to every single email that is sent, every DM that is sent, so please do. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys for watching. John, thank you very much for participating. Appreciate your time. That's another episode of Untether.tv. See you next time.